Hey, what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Quarbit, and welcome back to EU4 Nation Speedforming, where I put my skills to the test and we try to form nations as fast as possible. Go ahead and check out the Malaya video if you haven't already, but in that video, for the last minute and a half or so, the middle click on my mouse actually stopped working, which is why you didn't see me panning around or anything. But we got a new mouse and I'm ready to go back to recording. So today we will be forming Japan as fast as possible. We're going to be doing this one as Ueski. Not sure if this is really the fastest nation to do it as, but it seemed to me like it would be the simplest, so let's give it a shot. Of course, this isn't an actual speedrun, this will be based off of the in-game time, not the actual time I spend sitting here thinking, and because I'll be using jump cuts, I'll preserve the game in Iron Man. There are 3 different ways you can form in Japan, but the one we'll be focusing on isn't actually listed here yet. But once we become the Shogun, control Kyoto and Musashi, and have 25 provinces, then we'll be able to form Japan. So that shouldn't be too difficult. You only really need to have 2/3 of Japan to get this done. So let's start with our states. This will be the setup we're going with. I decided to grab religious state just so I can get a little bit of extra admin because we're going to be coring quite a lot. I've also set my rivals to be these 3, which are all allied to each other, so with any luck I can go ahead and co-belligerent them. And I'm also going to go ahead and hire this merc company actually. So let's get started. We'll also go ahead and give ourselves a nice little general, who is, not bad. Unfortunately, Satake has allied up with Amago, so I can't co-belligerent him, but I can declare on Shiba and co-belligerent Utsunomiya. So let's begin. And bop. Alright, that mostly takes care of them. I have a bit of extra money, so I'm going to go ahead and hire a couple more men. And while the opportunity is here, I would like to declare war on Hatakeyama. I can't occupy the fort yet, but it's better to do it now before their allies are willing to help. I'll also take a quick naval battle here. Lucky for us, we got a really solid admiral, so this should be a very easy battle. And there we go, first siege is done. And there we are, all 3 are done. Taking provinces through this method actually gives me the least amount of aggressive expansion, so let's do that. Now, sieging this level 3 fort over here is terribly boring and wasteful in resources, so I would much rather continue declaring war and taking stuff from people who don't have level 3 forts. And that just about does it for the rest of these guys. Ah, shoot, they came back and took my one guy down there. That sucks. Well, someone else is sieging that now, so I'm gonna have to go ahead and drop it. Unless, of course, they accidentally step off, in which case, well, it doesn't hurt to give it a shot. Actually, I'm gonna stay at war with this guy for a little while. I'm crafting up a bit of an idea. Unfortunately, it looks like taking Imagawa is going to create a very large coalition, so I'm going to have to white piece them. But I'll go ahead and annex these 2. And now with more dev, I have a larger loan size, so I'm gonna put myself in debt to the merchant guilds. And I'll pay off all those boring 4% interest loans. Now, as for the idea I was talking about, I think it's about time we put it into action. So I'll hire one more guy right here, and we'll declare on Shiba. That way, if he doesn't move, then I can actually steal the siege from him, and wipe out his army. Well, that siege took a pretty long time. Sheesh. Before I take this land, I'm just gonna make sure I'm done with this as well, so I can free up any men for further wars. There we go, Etche is done. So I'll be taking this. And this one province up over here. I won't be taking this one because this is Saigoku culture, which means I get slightly more aggressive expansion with these tags down here. And right now, we're in a bit of a precarious situation. I may never be fighting him again, so I'm going to be simply taking everything. Now I can go ahead and grab Tech 4, which will make this much easier continuing forward. Now that people's opinions have switched over to outraged, I have basically no time left before I should declare the next war. So let's get started. It also looks to me like Toki has brutally lost a war, so we're going to be going ahead and scooping them up real quick. And there we are, finally done. So these 2 will be fully annexed. It seems like a bad coalition, but everyone else here is really too busy fighting each other to really notice me. So yoink. That brings us to 13 provinces, which is just about half of what we need. Next, I will indebt myself to the merchants once again, which will give me a whole bunch of money to work with, and I can use that to hire myself a couple of men. And with those men, I can declare on Ogasawara. Okay, this capital has fallen, which is good news for me. Under normal circumstances, I would siege Yamana out, but unfortunately these aren't normal circumstances. Oda has started the coalition against me, which leads me to believe more nations will soon join if I don't take care of it. So unfortunately, I'm left with no choice but to peace out for this one province down here, and then we'll go off to war with Oda. Sorry Oda, but you've made the wrong decision. Alright, just gotta wait for this to finish up real quick. And just as I decide to move the men by boat, suddenly we decide to siege this. Isn't that great? Well, that's okay, not much of a problem. I may require a couple more ships when I fight Hosokawa because he does have 4 galleys and I only have 2, so I just went ahead and built a couple. It'll take about a year, but that's about as long as it'll take for me to finish this up anyway. Okay, I had to delete a merc stack because I am using way too much money on my army right now. And if I spend too much, there's a very real chance that I could go bankrupt before finishing this, and I really don't want to. There we go, finally. So we'll start off with Toki, which will give me his capital and a bunch of money, and Oda, which will give me everything. This will be enough aggressive expansion to bring the rest of Japan into a coalition, but at this point, I really don't even care. Most of these guys are pretty busy fighting amongst each other, so it's not really that much of a problem. So we're at 19 provinces, not a bad start. Let's keep going on to Tsutsui. It looks like Hosokawa's corpse is getting picked clean, but I'm still gonna try and see what I can grab from it. So a small coalition actually is beginning to form. The most it can consist of is like 4 or 5 tags though, so not that much of a coalition. It looks like Yamana has gone ahead and taken a bunch of land, which kinda sucks. But that's actually okay, because I'm just gonna go ahead and full annex Ochi. There isn't anyone else who can join this coalition, so there's really not a problem with me doing this. And then I'll have to declare war on the coalition, but surprisingly that's not much of a problem, because coalitions kind of work differently as daimyos. Not sure if that's intended or whatever, but apparently they do. Even though this guy is in a coalition against me with many other members, I can attack him and it doesn't call in the rest of them, which is weird. If it ends up working out this way, that's sick, but if it doesn't, again, that's just kinda weird, isn't it? Well, we'll find out at some point. Oh, well, we've gotten ourselves into a pretty interesting scenario here. Certainly not the one I was expecting. Well, we're at war with 16,000 men, which is quite considerable, of course. If we pick up independent daimyo, though, we will get morale of armies and infantry combat ability, which is pretty decent. I'm not really sure how this is going to change things, but it might affect us quite considerably. Well, first of all, I'm going to indebt myself to the merchant guilds once again. Now, the naval situation is going to be a little bit awkward, of course. We're going to need to move our ships around before we get all of our ships utterly destroyed. Fortunately, we have gone ahead and actually grabbed this fort, which is extremely lucky, and I don't know what I would do without it. So that will actually allow me to go ahead and grab the rest of these provinces here. Now, it says I can't take more than 17 loans, and I'm not really willing to test that, so I'm going to go ahead and pay off a couple of these smaller loans over here, because now my loans are worth basically 3 times that much. Same thing with maybe 2 of these ones. So this could end up being actual hell, but we're going to find out if we survive this or not. Fortunately, we're not actually fighting that many men. So in theory, this is winnable. Now, these guys over here are actually locked behind this very sizable fort, which is pretty bad, obviously. So we'll have to try our best to siege down Kyoto before they can siege Kosuke. So right now I have 22 provinces, and I need to have 25. So the best we're gonna get out of this war is probably taking Kyoto and maybe 2 more provinces. And if not, then we can go after Ainu. So we've managed to siege Kyoto, but I don't know if that means we're actually going to be winning or not. Ashikaga is on Tech 3, so I have minimal confidence that we might be able to win this. I also do have significantly more morale. So, we managed to win, but this next battle will be very difficult. There remains very little chance of me being able to actually win this, but I'm still going to give it a shot. You never know. Well, I can sell off my crown land a little bit. And I've debased all of my currency, so hopefully we'll be able to last a little while. I also went ahead and hired a bunch of mercs because I figured they could be helpful. And despite my best efforts, that means we'll only be able to fight for like another 20 months, maybe. Now, this is probably the riskiest thing I'm ever going to do, but this is likely the only thing I can do to try to salvage the situation, and that will be to spend basically everything I have just short of bankruptcy, like literal bankruptcy. I'm gonna repay a couple of these older loans so that I can take out some of these fresher 90 ducat loans. So, we're spending 60 ducats a month on our army right now, but I'm sure that'll be fine, since everyone is way too afraid of my army to fight me. Now that we managed to scare everyone off and kill off the main force, I think we're going to be okay to try and get rid of this stack, actually. After all, I can't really afford this for more than 2 months, so let's get rid of them. Okay, so I don't know if this is going to actually work, but I can take Kyoto and 2 more provinces, which would give me as much land as I need to, you know, form Japan. Theoretically, it'll also give me the shogunate, which is what I need, so we'll find out. Well, there's the shogunate. But fun fact, when you take the shogunate and try to take more land, you actually don't get the land. So, don't do what I just did right there. But anyway, I only need to have 2 more cities, which means I can just go after Ainu, and it won't take very long at all. And all of my vassals hate me, but that's okay, because we have truces. Well, that was a pretty tough war, not gonna lie. I still have no idea how I even got through that. But we no longer need the mercs, so we can get rid of them and try to salvage whatever sort of kind of economy I might still have left. And it'll take a little while to fabricate a claim on Ainu, so I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a spy network guy as well. Also, kind of weird, just thought I should mention that somehow my capital is not stated, which is lots of fun. But I can also concentrate development, so I have no idea where this will end up going. Guess we'll find out. I think it actually just went literally nowhere. I don't think any of this dev changed. Well, that's boring. Anyways, doesn't really matter, because we're gonna go off to war against Ainu, and we're gonna take the rest of those provinces. Sorry, Ainu. You had it coming. And there we are. So, full annexation of Ainu. And we can unite Japan. There we are, 1458, we have Japan formed. A total of 14 years, which is, well, pretty quick. I imagine there's a decent chance you could probably form it faster. You know, if you didn't have the Shogun declare on you and try to wipe you off the face of the planet, that would definitely be one way. But 14 years isn't so bad. The only problem with this save moving forward is that, obviously, well, you have a lot of loans. A lot of corruption as well. Generally, things just aren't looking that good. But it is Japan in 1458, definitely not the most stable, but also not as bad as it could be. But thank you so much for watching, I really do hope you enjoyed this episode of EU4 Nation Speedforming. Drop a comment down below telling me which nation you'd want to see me speedform next. Of course, don't forget to subscribe if you want to see more nation speedforming, and be sure to leave a like if you enjoyed it, leave a dislike if you disliked it. This is Quarbit signing off, and as always, have a fantastic day. And just at the end of the video, I would like to give a massive thank you to all of the wonderful people over at Patreon for the month of May. Starting in the general tier, we have Quiet Guy, Brennan Arsenault, Ben Greenhagen, Torvald, Dire Avenger, and Farron. In the Prince tier, we have Snowraven, Rockbox 2020, Robert Kaleno, and Bouncer Steve. In the King tier, we have Chewy Shoot and Natsuki. In the Elector tier, we have TFLJ Martus, and in the Conqueror of Worlds tier, we have The Watcher. Thank you guys so much for your pledges this month, it means a lot to me, and I truly just cannot thank you enough.